Okay, so let's talk about this little gear in our transform tool. This is a very powerful tool. I use this all the time for my hard surface modeling. And I use this in conjunction with the live boolean. We'll talk about how to use these together in another video, but for now, I want to show you some of the features inside here. So while I have any of my subtools selected, I can click on this gear and it will give me this tool palette. So inside this tool palette, I have a bunch of three-dimensional shapes. These are primitive shapes. I'm going to go through each one of these fairly quickly and just kind of explain to you what's going on here. I actually use these more than the base primitive that you can use before you make Polymesh 3D. So if I click on this cone, so this is telling me I need to make this a Polymesh 3D. So let's go ahead and recenter. So click on my cone, and if I rotate around, you can see my cone. And inside this transform tool, you'll notice that most of the operations will pop up, and they'll have these little cones. So these cones do different things. So if I mouse over, you can see this says V divide 5. That means if I pull this up, you can see it starts to divide the poly count of my shape. So this is acting like a primitive. So I'm going to pull up, and then this one divides my H divide. So that lets me get a little bit more high poly cone. So I'm going to click through these. I'm going to go cylinder. So you'll notice the cylinder also has the V divide, has H divide. But then there's this new little cone in the middle here. So that's inner radius. If I pull that, it lets me make a tube. Okay, so let's go to Polycube. So you see this one has blue for Z, X, Y. Fairly straightforward. Click on the gear again. Poly cylinder. This one does not have that center point, so this only lets you adjust the Z and the X divide. Click on polyplane. This lets you adjust the X and Y. Polysphere. You can see that this is a little bit different. This isn't broke up like a traditional globe where you have like your longitude and latitude. This is actually a rounded cube. You can see the way the corners point in here. And this is actually really beneficial if you're wanting to start from scratch and make a head. You don't have like weird pinching in the poles. Okay, and we have ring. I like this one quite a bit. So we have our coverage. So you can adjust this if you want to get some different shapes. We have our L divide. So again, changes your poly count. We have our radius, so we can control the thickness. So that radius is actually controlling this radius here of the ring itself. We have our scale. You can make a horn. Then we have our S divide, so it's making it a little bit smoother, adding some more polys around the curvature. We have twist. So let's turn this down and then use the twist. All right, so you can see how beneficial that might be depending on what you're trying to achieve. And then we have Sphere 3D, and you can see here we have our H divide, so you can get some interesting shapes. You'll notice that this cone is pulled to the inside, so I can control that. I can also pull it all the way up to the point, and you see it becomes a little sphere shape. So basically all that did was stop at a pole. So I can pull this and drag it in and get some pretty interesting shapes. Okay, so I'm going to leave this video here where we just talked about these polyprimitives at the top, and next video we're going to talk about some of these tools in the bottom section.